The day of the pour, the pump was here. It was all set up. They had literally were placing concrete inside the forms, and the foreman came to me and said, "Hey, you know, the drawing shows that that beam is 12 inches wide, but I don't think it should be that wide. That's never that big." And I went and looked at the drawings. I saw that the drawings did indicate a 12-inch wide beam pocket. That created a measurement issue. Hi there, I'm Kevin.
I'm Sherry.
Welcome to Logs, Bogs,
and Meadows.
Okay, today is Wednesday, April 9th. Happy birthday to my sister Kim. Today, they poured the floors in the basement. They also sprayed the waterproofing on the concrete walls. That's the black that you see there. They came and stripped the forms off on Monday. Did a little bit of prep yesterday. I don't think a whole lot. And today is when they poured the basement. So the concrete portion of this job is, the majority of it's complete. The only thing left for them to do is to come back and pour the two porches and the garage floor, and that'll be a bit. The framer's coming on Monday, so we've got to get the house up before they do that. Okay, I am standing on the top of the front porch frost wall looking down in the basement. They poured this floor today. I know the crews were here early. I think they had trucks here by 8 o'clock, and I think it only took them 2 trucks. But they poured it, they finished it, and they've put the saw cuts in, and the saw cuts are control joints to control cracking. And it looks like they did a pretty good job with the finish on that. But now that we are stripped of all the forms, we can get a better sense of things. The hole there is an egress window. Here's some more footage of the walls and the waterproofing. I'm learning that the excavator might be back to finish setting the drains and backfilling soon. They do need to get an inspection now. We'll come up here, you can see there's little slobbers of concrete that's come out the forms, which is not a problem. Most of these walls will be buried. In fact, when you're looking at the house, the black waterproofing line is the general area of where the grade will be. And of course, it's not waterproofed on the back porch because that's not a basement portion. The only waterproofing locations are where it's going to be in the interior of a basement. Today is Saturday, April 12th. I believe it's day 37 or 38. I'm not sure. But what we're seeing is a muddy mess because it's been raining for a few days here. Halted some of the work down a little bit. But as you can see, we now have a shipment of lumber sitting here. That came Thursday evening and was expecting it Friday. They got it here early in the evening around 6 p.m. Interestingly, the driver had some problems with the mud. And even though I had all of this shale put down here, he somehow got his forklift, Moffett forklift, the ones that kind of hang off the back of the delivery trucks. Well, he got it stuck in the mud. And I got a call from dispatch, and they wanted some help to get him out. So they were looking for the excavator to come and pull him out because the excavator has a skid loader here. And they were ready to do that, but he got himself out before we had to do it. So interesting evening. That was for sure. And we're going to try to get inside the house right now, down in the basement. I've got a ladder down there. want to do some measurements. I want to take a look around. But yeah, we're going to just kind of do a few things here today. Looking for some, basically just wanted to get an inventory of the lumber that came and take a look at the progress that we have so far. Okay, so we're on the side right now, and this big window opening is actually here as an egress opening, since we don't have a basement that has an entrance or an exit, I guess, outside. We are required by code to put an egress point in, and that's what this is. That metal frame was actually embedded between the form panels, and that concrete was cast right around it. So that was a pretty interesting way that they did that. But I'm going to attempt to crawl through there, and I'm glad I'm not going to tape it because I might fall, and I don't want to show you that. Okay, I am in the basement, and it's very, very echoey in here. It also is pretty wet. That rain has left some puddles, and concrete is never completely flat or level, so you have some low spots. You got a lot of water here. This part of the basement over here is fairly dry. That's toward the front corner. Back here under the mudroom, this little area here is pretty wet. Now this here, interestingly, it's a weird little area. Normally you wouldn't have such a small area for a basement, but with the mudroom being behind the garage, that's kind of how it was designed. And we kind of have in our mind that we want to kind of close this off and have it become a root cellar. It's going to be underground. We think it can work well for that. It's also the location for the rough-in for the radon system. And you see this plastic pipe here sticking up. The excavator put that in and connected it to the formadrain system. You'll have to look at a previous video to see how that works, but that can vent the radon gases if we have them. And we're going to leave it plugged for now. Once we get the house built, we'll take some radon tests. If we have radon levels that are escalated and we need to do some type of ventilation, this part's already here. All we have to do is get it vented outside. Likely don't even have to put a fan on it, just have it vent naturally. But that's way on down the road. We might not even need it. While I'm here, I'm going to measure the beam pockets. We've got a little bit of a situation with these beam pockets where they're incorrectly sized. And I'll explain that here in a bit. There's a beam pocket right there. There's another one on the other side. Okay, so I am on the ladder. And what we're seeing right now is the beam pocket. And if you look in here, you can see there's a bunch of styrofoam balls there. That was basically a piece of styrofoam that was put into the concrete forms when it was poured. Now, when you watch that video, you're going to see that there's a little bit of confusion on site that day about the dimensions of this beam pocket. And I had a conversation with the foreman. Thought we got it right between him and I, but we still didn't. We have to put a W8 by 18 steel beam in here. And that has a height of 8¼ inches, I believe, very close to that. If I put my tape measure in here, we are looking at about 12 inches, some of that slobber, the concrete on top. It's really about 11.5, 11¾ high. The width of it is about 8 inches, and that's okay. It can have some space. The beam itself is 5¼ inches wide. But the real issue is that we've got, well, about 3.5 inches or so that the beam will sit down in here too high. Okay, so the day of the pour, The pump was here. It was all set up. They had literally were placing concrete inside the forms, and the foreman came to me and said, "Hey, the drawing shows that that beam is 12 inches wide, but I don't think it should be that wide. That's never that big." And I went and looked at the drawings. I saw that the drawings did indicate a 12-inch wide beam pocket. Quickly Googled, what a W8 by 18 and 18 beam dimensions were, and I came up with 5 1/4 width. So I went to him and I confirmed that no, those drawings are wrong. That is not 12 inches wide. And he went ahead and made an adjustment. What I think he did, I think he simply turned the piece that he had to go in there up, basically from laying down to going up. And in doing so, that created a measurement issue. So the real issue here was that it was incorrectly stated on the drawings. It was confusing at that time. There was a lot going on. The trucks were sitting there, they're pouring. And between him and I, we should have taken a few minutes longer to get that right. We didn't, and now we kind of have to work around it. It's not impossible. These things happen with construction. I would prefer that it not be like this, but it's just going to take a little teamwork to get this figured out, and I'm sure it's going to be fine. So that's what happened. Yeah, so we're looking at the first drop of the lumber shipment. And this is drop 1 of 3. This is the all of the foundations, first floor deck, first floor walls, and second floor deck. So it was a pretty big shipment, more than I expected to see, honestly. And they seem to have it packaged nicely. I did want to take inventory, make sure that we got the quantities we're supposed to get. So I pan back over here, what we're seeing are the LVL beams, and then some of the engineered I-joists that we're using on the second floor deck. And the reason for these I-joists right here on the second floor deck is the span that we have to go across there. There will be no support in the middle. We have an open floor plan on the first floor, so to be able to make those spans, these engineered I-joists can carry more load than a 2x12, which is this. That's what's being used for the first floor deck. But those 2x12s will be supported by that beam that runs across into those beam pockets in the basement, supported by columns as well. So structurally, different applications based on different loads. And up here at the end of the pile is where all the sheeting goods are. The zip system is the exterior sheathing, and we chose that because it's superior in waterproofing. It's a better system overall. There's no need to wrap the house in plastic because it has a membrane on it. That's the green part that will keep water out. And then there is a taping system that's used to tape all the joints, much different than this typical OSB, which has been the common way of sheathing houses for quite some time. As we walk around the back, we are seeing what is the subfloor. And this is an OSB product. And this is in between a product called Advantech, which is the highest grade of subfloor. This is Huber Blue, made by the same company, Huber, that makes Advantech. So there's kind of different grades of subfloor. And the idea is that something be used that will deter, getting wet, actually be somewhat moisture resistant so that it doesn't swell and take on water. And the Advantech product is superior, but this has a 200-day no sand guarantee. What does that mean? Well, it means that it can be out in the elements for 200 days while the house is being built, getting wet. And if it needs to be sanded because the floor swells because of wetness, then there's a guarantee and they'll replace it. So there's no way we're going to have this out in the elements for 200 days. And a sheet of this costs $28. A 4x8 sheet of Advantact, I think, is north of $40, maybe at least high 30s. So you can see that's quite a stack. So that saved us some money. Okay, so this is a wrap for the day. I'm headed out. Before I do, I just wanted to pan across the site, get a good look. Get a good look at everything. Next time I'm here, there will be framing on that foundation, and that's going to be awesome. Okay, we are standing in the driveway right now, and first thing that you see is the floor joist system that's on the deck. But you're also seeing here that we have filled in the garage area. The excavators were here today. We had a crane here early this morning setting steel in the basement. Framing crew was here. So there was a lot of work that occurred today, and we're just happy to get out here and see it on a beautiful April evening. So I can tell that they brought in some fill. If you look at this pile right there, that pile of material did not come from this site. The material that came from this site is over there in that big pile there, which used to be much taller. But the stuff that was on our site, the material is this orange, brownish, clay-like stuff, has some shale in it. Whereas this other material you can tell was brought in from a different location. So they were able to get some backfill done today. Not up to finish grade by any means, but they did backfill all along the back of the house here. They actually were able to get some up there in the back patio as well. There's a good close-up of the difference between the fill material that was brought in and over here what we had before. And so now I imagine we're going to have a lot more fill that we're going to have to bring in because this site does not have enough on it to do what we want to with the grade of our yard. Just looking at a side view of what the original pile of spoils is now after they've used some of it to backfill. Okay, so we are looking at the beam pocket. And specifically what we're looking at are these pieces of metal, steel. They packed them in there, and you can see they're steel shims is what they are. They've been made out of different pieces and thicknesses of steel. And in order to compensate for the little oops we had with the beam pocket being too big, they were using these to shim it up, and they seem like that's going to be really solid, so I'm all good with that.